Hey there, friends. Welcome back to another Legally Armed America video. I'm, of course, Paul Glasgow. Have you seen a crazier or louder or more irate group of adults than what you're seeing right now with the Democrats raising all kinds of hell about simple auditing processes with USAID and the Treasury Department? First, guys, please go check out my friends CMMG. They make some of the finest implements out there. This is a group of people that I've known for a little while now. Great leadership, great employees, great workers. Obviously, the craftsmanship is incredible on the implements that they build. But these guys, again, walk the walk. They don't just talk the talk. They are severe and very strong Second Amendment supporters, and I really, really respect that about them. Was a big fan of CMMG before I ever did any work with CMMG. Use my code FTATF at the website cmmg. Again, use my code FTATF for 10% off when you go to cmmg. Yeah, these people are losing their minds right now. And it's the craziest thing. It's not like if you didn't have anything to hide, you would care. Sometimes the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and hopefully these people are about to get the grease because they're exposing themselves as the people who have something to hide. Why else would you be so upset about a group of consultants, because that's what Elon Musk is, a consultant? We didn't elect Elon. Nobody said you did. We didn't elect George Soros or any of these other clowns that had direct input to Obama and Joe Biden. They were consultants. Elon's a consultant. Perfectly legal, perfectly fine. If you have to worry about what this man might find during an audit, that's all it is an audit. We're seeing where the money's coming in, we're seeing where it's going out, and we're seeing who's writing the checks and who's cashing the checks. That's it. We want a reasonable explanation, and no one is getting that. In fact, it's gotten so out of control, there's no way you could provide a reasonable explanation at this point. Here's a quick clip of Hakeem Jeffries and the old sulking, murking around. Definitely another grifter. Now that Joe Biden's gone, we have another one of our career grifters, and Chuck Schumer. Check this out.
They are raiding the government, attempting to steal taxpayer money. That's what the situation at the Treasury Department is all about. We will introduce the Stop the Steal Act in short order to prevent unlawful access with respect to the Department of Treasury's payment system connected to people who are trying to steal personal, sensitive, and confidential information.
So I gotta once again correct them that USAID, which is what they're crying about, was not created by Congress. The act to create the initiative to give other countries American taxpayer money, which is ridiculous. I can't believe our Congress passed that back in 1961. But the initiative was an act passed by Congress. USAID was not created by Congress. It was an executive order by John F. Kennedy. So they're lying to you, but they do this all the time. They give you a partial fact, mainly because they know a lot of the American public, especially the wackos on the far left, are too lazy to do their own research. But they're lying about this. Congress did not create USAID. Congress created the act that allowed for the proliferation of money, foreign, and to get out of the borders of the United States and to frivolously pay these countries for stupid stuff. USAID was just created to pilfer that money and to give it to people as an organization. So they screwed up by trying to focus on USAID because they're never going to be able to say Congress controls that, because Congress doesn't. They may control purse strings, but they did not create that agency. That organization is just an unelected bureaucracy that's tasked with giving that money out, divvying it out to other nations. Now, quick list. I don't want to bore you with this, but as these lists come out, they get more and more humorous. I'll probably break down some of these lists in the next couple of days. $1.5 million to advance diversity, equity, inclusion in Serbia's workplaces and business communities. Ask yourself this question as we go down this list. How does this benefit the United States and the people of the United States? $70,000 for production of a DEI musical in Ireland. Yeah, that really is helpful to the people in America. 2.5 million for electronic vehicles for Vietnam. Don't they freaking make them over there? Why are we paying for them to have these vehicles? 47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia. Again, I laughed about that the other day. Can you imagine what that sounds like? A bunch of men dressed up in drag, singing along. 32,000 for a transgender comic book. Can't wait to read that one. 2 million for sex changes in LGBT activism in Guatemala. 6 million to fund tourism in Egypt. Hey, let's go look at the pyramids. Wait a minute, haven't gotten my check from the United States government yet. Hundreds of thousands of dollars for nonprofit linked to designated terrorist organizations, even after an inspector general launched an investigation into this. That one I'm going to be digging into in the next couple of days. Millions to EcoHealth Alliance, which was involved in research at the Wuhan lab. We're talking about 40 million there. Hundreds of thousands of meals that went to Al-Qaeda affiliated fighters in Syria. Not babies, not children, not the things that they make you think whenever they go out there and whine and cry on camera. These were to the actual Al-Qaeda fighters. Funding to print personalized contraceptives, birth control devices in developing countries. I wonder if I could get some, I don't know, monogrammed rubbers. Maybe we can get some monogrammed rubbers with my initials on them. That would be cool. But I guess I need to move to another country in order to qualify for that. And lastly, hundreds of millions of dollars to fund irrigation, canals, farming equipment, and even fertilizer used to support the unprecedented poppy cultivation and heroin production in Afghanistan. Again, how does helping the Taliban grow heroin in Afghanistan benefit America in any way? So the waste and the fraud it runs deep. That's why these people are so mad. They're really mad because Elon and us, because these databases are being made available to you and I online, where we can just go in, punch in people's names, we can punch in company names, countries. You can basically go investigate a lot of this stuff on your own and find all this information out yourself. I don't have any special access to anything. I just logged into a lot of these things and was able to find a lot of this stuff on my own. And that's what the politicians are angry about. That's why they're so irate. Because eventually there will be a dotted or a solid line that goes back to almost all of them. And I know I'm hard on the Democrats a lot of times because they're the most scumbaggish of all of these people. But I also make it very clear that I'm not just singling them out. There are plenty of scumbag Republicans in Washington, D.C. In fact, most of them. But the one that I put the video out on yesterday, I have to talk about again because they didn't have all the pretty pictures and all the graphs and all the neat stuff yesterday because my comms were down. You know our good friend. I'm going to use the moniker from one of you viewers who gave me this idea last night and it cracked me up and I got to use it again. We're going to call old Lindsey Graham here the Carolina cornholer. And I got to tell you, that still cracks me up when you say it. The old Carolina cornholer here, Lindsey Graham. This guy was not going to back Tulsi Gabbard, had concerns about her. And then suddenly, a day after some information came out about his ties to USAID, suddenly Lindsey Graham backs Tulsi Gabbard after voicing concerns about her. Senator Lindsey Graham, a South Carolina Republican, backed former Democratic Representative Tulsi Gabbard, President Trump's pick for the Director of National Intelligence, after voicing concerns about her last week. He had come out directly saying that he was not going to vote for the confirmation of Tulsi Gabbard. Suddenly changed his mind after Elon dropped a little knowledge on him, right? Well, it runs pretty deep. Oh, Lindsey here, cornhole, the Carolina cornholer. I got to get that. It's got a nice roll to it, but it's almost a bit of a tongue twister with a Carolina cornholer. You can't say it. Say that 3 times. Carolina cornholer, Carolina. See, you get tongue twisted whenever you try to say that. I want you guys to say that 3 times really fast. It's just, the old Carolina cornholer here, Lindsey Graham. The USAID company that he is directly tied to receives millions of dollars. This is showing about $9 million, a little bit over $9 million right here. But make no mistake, this organization has received well over $137 million from USAID. This, again, I might remind you, is all taxpayer dollars that we did not approve. These people are spending your money frivolously without your permission. And again, this comes from the money you have worked for. Now, if you go to this organization that we're talking about, the International Republican Institute, it's very left-leaning looking, right? It's very left. I understand the name says International Republican Institute, but they claim that they're nonpartisan, which, how stupid. Why would you have that in your name if you're not partisan? But it looks very Democrat to me, not Republican. Does not look conservative, I guess. Let me put it that way. If you look down here, it says, at IRI, we understand that advancing democracy worldwide is about empowering individuals on a personal level. Think of this, guys. As you read this, I want you to understand this is your taxpayer dollar funding these initiatives. Once people can raise their voices without fear and participate in a free and fair political process, they will finally have the tools they need to build a democratic destiny in the country they call home. First of all, we can't even fix, maintain, and keep a fair election of our own. We all know that. You say what you want about the 2020 election, the 2016 election, and other elections. I've heard people say that the vast majority of California is Republican, but they'll never win another election because it's so corrupt over there that it's always fixed, that it's been rigged for decades. The United States government, the federal government, is also rigging the elections here, maybe at the state level, but they're rigged as well. So how ironic that we are trying to, quote, help other countries reform their election process when we can't even do it on our own. And on top of that, this has all the makings of nation building. When you read this, this sounds like a sales pitch to go to another country and say, hey, we want to help you nation build, because it sounds so great at a very high level. This has all the markings of CIA involvement to go out there and destabilize other governments and gain control. While you're out there destabilizing, you first destabilize, then you stabilize them a little bit to make it look like you're actually helping, and you take credit for that part of it. But this is what this is all about. Now, am I sure they get their funding from this, even though I already showed you the proof? Yes. They actually say it on their website. Where do you get your funding? IRI is a 501(c), meaning it's a nonprofit, meaning that they keep most of the money. That's essentially what that means. Receives funding through grants from the U.S. State Department, U.S. Agency for International Development. There's your USAID right there. Now, here's the good part. This is why Lindsey is running scared. This is why Lindsey changed his vote for Tulsi. Now, yesterday when I went to this website to pull up the information about Lindsey Graham's involvement in this, I could easily find his involvement. Today, I had to dig for it. In fact, one of the slides I got from yesterday is not even on their website anymore. When you go to the Who We Are, you got to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, and then you find the rest of the information that I was looking for. This is the slide that I pulled from yesterday, by the way. U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham, board member. This guy is a board member on this agency that has received $137 million from USAID. Essentially, the taxpayer monies have all come from taxpayers in the United States without our permission. Now, I want to be really clear here. This obviously is why Lindsey wasn't expecting to be on Elon's radar. This is obviously why. In fact, Elon even asked in a tweet, is this legal? Referring to Graham being on this board that's receiving money, which you know that means Graham's receiving money and all the other board members. Receiving money from USAID, Elon's asking, is this legal? Now, why would you be mad about Elon asking something like that? The Democrats are mad about Elon asking stuff about that, even about Lindsey Graham. Why? Because they're in it together. They've all stolen from the same purse. But it ain't just Lindsey. I got to be fair here. As much as I dislike Lindsey, the Carolina cornholer here, I got to be very honest. There's some other people on here that you probably didn't expect to see who are likely getting the same kickbacks and payments that old Carolina cornholer here is getting. Senator Dan Sullivan, for one. Congressman Jake Ellzey. U.S. Representative Kay Granger. Senator Joni Ernst, Senator Mitt Romney, what a surprise there, and a slew of ambassadors and other people who likely participate in these cocktail parties funded by me and funded by you. This is an organization that takes $137 million from the American people, spends 90% of that on themselves, 10% of that goes to whatever their little initiative is. I can't even figure it out by looking at their website. So whatever their initiative is, their good cause, 10% of that money, based on what Elon has told us, goes to the actual cause. These people are getting fat. As I stated yesterday, you wonder why these people enter into Congress making $174,000 a year and they leave out of their multi-millionaires. This is why. And this is why these people are so mad right now. Since everybody has participated in all of this corruption over all these years and decades, no one has ever called anybody out on this. We always talk about birds of a feather, different wings of the same bird. Reason why is because you can fight in public between the Democrats and the Republicans. That's okay. Fight in public because your constituents expect you to do that. But we always wonder when it comes time to vote, we're like scratching our head going, wait a minute. This guy had a press conference saying this, but he voted like this. So they're not reflective of one another. What's going on here? It's because the window dressing is what they're doing to convince you that they care. And then they make up some BS excuse as to why they had to vote. Oh, I had to do this because I needed to get the money from a bridge in Louisiana for this, blah, blah, blah. It's always something stupid, silly, made up. And it's always the same thing. Like they use the same excuses. But when you really get down to it, the people who are doing the digging right now have no ties to any of these people. They're not tied to the Joni Ernst or the Lindsey Grahams or the Carolina Cornholer. They're not tied to these people. They don't have any connections to them. They don't probably even know them. And these people are in there simply looking for red flags and rooting out the stuff that smells to high hell. And that's what they're doing right now. And that's why these people are scared and raising hell at all these little rallies and little dust-ups that they can manage to dust up on and get people riled up about, because they need you. They need the American people to start raising hell to run cover for them. Because if they're the only ones raising hell about any of this, because I don't hear it from the American people, I don't see anybody rioting because they're auditing USAID. Do you? You see anybody? You see the American people out there going, quit stealing from USAID. We need you away from USAID. We didn't elect Elon to look at USAID, because the American people are like, look at it all. We all care about this. The American people in general do care. When you see these couple of little bots on X saying these stupid little things, parroting what these jackasses right here are saying, it's only because they're bots. It's only because some of these influencers get paid to do this kind of stuff. But the person who gets up in the morning and puts a pair of jeans on, work boots, and grabs a hard hat, or gets dressed for work, whatever, shift work, I don't care what it is, and goes to work, they're not upset right now. Because they work their asses off to try to pay for bacon, tomatoes, or whatever that the price has gone through the roof on. And they get to sit back and see that people like old Carolina Cornholer here are getting richer by the day. And they get up and go to work in the morning and bust their butts while Carolina Cornholer over here is cashing those checks. And the American people have had it. Even the people on the left have had it. They're done. They are done. Again, that's why you will only see politicians, or if you see anybody outside a political network, it's someone who was receiving funding from these organizations, and now they're not Mr. Big Shot. Look, these guys, you have to understand, other than people who are getting these checks, right? I'm not saying every single politician in D.C. who's whining and crying is getting an actual check somehow laundered through USAID. I'm not in any kind of way insinuating that. Those that are not getting payment from an organization tied to USAID, you know why they're mad? It's because they have voted or approved this money to go to USAID, to go to these other areas. Why does that matter? Because these buildings are in their districts. These big, massive, million-dollar complexes are NGOs or 501(c)(3)s or nonprofits, right? You have a guy like Jamie Raskin. Jamie Raskin, in his district alone, has like 40 NGOs. 40 of these nonprofits are in Jamie Raskin's district. So even if he's not receiving a penny directly from any of those NGOs, he's getting something from them. And he talks big when he goes to all their little cocktail parties and their little luncheons and all that. He talks big. I'm going to get you some money for that. And now, all this money that they have just casually promised away, they may not be able to give to those NGOs and those nonprofits and the people who are using all this money to pay for their cocktail parties and their $1 million mansions. And that's why the people who aren't directly getting paid, they're benefiting somehow. It may be in their campaign coffers or something else. They are receiving something from somewhere that makes them care. Because otherwise, why would they care? Why would they care about any of this money? If somebody's going in there and auditing this and finding the waste and the fraud, you would support that unless you benefited from it somehow. In closing, guys, remember, anyone who seeks to disarm you is likely trying to do something to you that you would have shot them for.